Hi everyone, welcome back to another video here on my channel. Apologies for the sort of portrait of the video yesterday. I had the phone standing up, so it kind of yeah, I couldn't figure out the editing how to fix it, so I just had to sort of leave it like that, unfortunately. Apologies if you hear any noises. I've got a baby and a cat going nuts in the background. Bit of a shorter video, but not shorter, but we've got a couple of transfer news and some other things around the club to do with players on the out and injuries coming back in. So I guess first of all we'll speak about the players coming in. The Lazio striker, 6'4", backup striker to Ciro Immobile. He's been linked with us for, I think they picked him up for about 15 million. Look, from what I can tell, and I don't watch a lot of Italian football, I do watch a bit, and I've never really noticed him before, if I'm honest. I think he doesn't press much, hasn't scored a lot of goals for Lazio, so I gotta be honest with you, I don't think that's a bit of a goer. I think, yeah, I think that one's just a bit of agents stirring up a bit of crap. Agents trying to use Leeds' name as a platform to get a move for their player, which is fair enough. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I'd say that one's not a no-go. And to be honest, well, that brings me on to the news about Bamford and Rodrigo being back this weekend, which is huge. That means that we got Bamford to start up front, and we have Rodrigo probably to play through the midfield. Because I guess the biggest thing is Gelhardt being out. So we don't have a bench for a striker, but at least we do have a starting striker again. We have Bamford here back this weekend for the West Ham game, which will be huge. Sam Greenwood's injured. The weird thing about all the injuries at the moment with Leeds is no one can seem to figure out what is wrong with these players and why it's happening, which is a bit frustrating when it's a professional organisation that can't. And obviously they probably do know what's going on, but they're not giving us any information. But they don't want it to sound like wear and tear, and I think that's what's going on. This is a wear and tear situation with players where the training regime and not bringing in new bodies and not giving people a rest, it's starting to wear on players now. It's starting to affect players, and I'll be honest, as a player, yeah, you buy into this project and you buy into Bielsa and you buy into the hard work and the work rate and you buy into the system, and it has got us success. But you got to think about what it's done to these players' careers and the longevity of it. I know it's not about the longevity; it's about winning things and being successful, and I do understand that. And there is an element to that with these Leeds players that, you know, your likes of Stuart Dallas and Liam Cooper will probably never experience anything better than winning the championship and coming up to the Premier League and playing some games in the Premier League. But at the same time, with how this system works, and I think centre-backs are a bit more let off. They don't have the same work rate as your midfielders and your striker and things like that. It's definitely taking years off their career. And you got to think about even Calvin Phillips. He's going to slow right down because he's not the quickest bloke as it is. But he's going to slow right down with the injuries he's getting in the work rate and all that sort of and all that comes together and that's what I'm a bit worried about now, that we're not bringing in new players, we're not bringing in bodies, and we're not making the squad larger. And from what we can tell, you know, there's mixed messages coming from out of Leeds as well about whether we have money or we don't have money, or you know, we're going to sign players or not. And it sounds like now, or there's some rumours that we have no money and we're going to be signing loan signings because of financial fair play. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I can't imagine we wouldn't have any money. I can't imagine that, you know, I'm not too sure how financial fair play works in the way of wage schemes, because obviously we're spending £100 million a year on wages, which is, you know, leaves us 40 million in the kitty from the Premier League money. And of that 40 million, I mean, all the wages that's all the wages for 100 million. Then out of that 40, there's upkeep. There's probably costs for the stadium. There's probably other costs that come out of that, and you probably are left with 10, 20 million, probably like 20 million in the end. So that's one player. So we really need investment from the 49ers and things like that, which I don't quite understand where the money from the 49ers went when they bought part of the club, unless we already overspent knowing that the 49ers are going to put 50 million in, because I think that's what their investment was, 50 million. So unless we overspent already, and Dan James and that was money being spent that we didn't have at the time, which would be really frustrating, because we wouldn't spend 30 million on a midfielder. I don't get me wrong, I love Dan James. Sorry guys. I love Dan James, but he wasn't what we needed, and I think he's done well. So and foresight is a fantastic thing, because Jack Harrison hasn't hit the heights that we want him to. So it's great that we did buy Dan James because he fit in. But just as an example, that's not what we needed. We needed a midfielder, and we still haven't got a midfielder. Lewis Bates barely been used. He got taken off early against West Ham. So it's a bit frustrating, because I just don't think we're utilising. I mean, we're utilising youth players to an extent, but not really. Hielda played really, really well and pocketed Antonio, which is huge. Lorente played pretty poor, which is frustrating, but he's proved how good he can be, so that is what it is. So we've got Creswell and Hielda, who are two very good centre-backs. And I do look at, and I've spoken about this in other videos, and it's not a negative thing, so please don't crucify me, it's not negative. It's just about a fact of... we do have some good youth players that will be very good Championship, if not Premier League players in the future. So it feels like a contingency plan that if we do go down, we have Hielda, we have Creswell, we have Drameh, we have, I don't think Firpo will go, but we'll probably need to bring a left back in. But we have players there that would be really, really good in the Championship, Gelhardt and players like that, and Somerville, that I think we've got a good, and Lewis Bates as well. We have a really good core of players that we just got to keep a couple of players from the Premier League side when we go down, and that team would I think be very competitive in the Premier League, in the Championship. You don't have to spend the money, and you can use the parachute money and hold it there and have a season where you go, right, let's see how the young squad do, and the Premier players who have done it in the Championship before, and then you add quality afterwards if you need to. If need be. So that brings me on to the next point, which is Cody Drameh going out on loan to Cardiff, I believe it was. And this is where I start to get frustrated with the whole, I don't actually understand the plan, and I feel like the club are feeding us lies in some respects. And I know they talk about being a family club and they talk about being very transparent, but it's very mixed messages. They tell us that we have money to spend and that the transfer market won't be affected by the Augustine trial case that was £20 million. They say that, and now we find out they don't have money, and then we find out we need to do loan signings, and then find out we have to sell a couple of good players to bring signings in. So it's like, what is it? Do we have money? Do we not have money? Are we going to be signing loanings, or are we not going to get loan signings in? Do we have to sell some good players to bring some poor players in, or not? And I think there is truth to selling to good players to bring players in. I think that is true, but I don't believe we have no money, and I just feel like there's, and it might be a bit more sinister, but I understand how business works. I work in sales, and sometimes it is a case of making sure that their back pocket is aligned to some extent. Nobody does this to make no money. I'm telling you that right now. And I know people are saying, but football's a hobby, and if you buy a football club, you're not doing it to make money. There is monetary gain in there. There will be monetary gain, especially going to the Premier League. I can guarantee you, Radrizzani would not have done this, or would not have put his money into the club, gone to the Premier League, and not taken something back into his own pocket, and at least paid himself back for buying Leeds. He's done at least that, if not more. Saying that, I know that he used to put £1 million in every month for wages, but all I'm saying is he would have grabbed money and paid himself back at some point before he leaves the club. And probably then something, he'll probably add 10-15% on top as interest before, and then he'll sell the club. That's just business, that's just how life works. There's no way that you go buy a football club for 50 million, put all the money into it, and then sell it for 70, 80 and go, oh, well, I broke even there. That's not how things work. And plus, I don't think they'd sell it for 70 or 80. I think it goes for a bit more than that. But the 49ers don't have much left on what they're owed. And I think the money that the 49ers are putting in, it sounds like Radrizzani sort of putting some of that in his back pocket, if I'm honest with you. But look, that's a speculation. I don't know, but I understand how that works. But I can't blame him. It's not like it's not as bad as it was back in the day where, sorry, his name eludes me, that was buying and using money to build indoor swimming pools and crap like that, where he was literally not investing in the club and put us in difficulty. And it's nothing like that. So I understand that he's invested a lot and he's getting what he's owed back out, which is, I think that's fair. But I do think it's also, I love Radrizzani, he's done well, but I also think it's time for a fresh outlook and a fresh face. So I think I'd like to see the 49ers come in. I don't want Bielsa to leave, but if he did, I think it'd be good to see an overhaul, because this squad does need one. And we apparently have no money, so the overhaul might be selling Melier, Phillips, and Rafinha for a combined 170, 180 million £100 stay in the Premier League, get your money to stay up. You get your 150 million for staying up. 300 million in the kitty, of which they might spend 150 of, and the rest, and the wage bill comes down a bit, because also you get rid of those three players, which will be on decent coin. But the wage bill comes down, and you go again, and you add a couple of you add 3, 4, 5 quality players in. You lose 3 players and you add 6 is what I would be saying. If you're getting 180 million in, I'd be going, right, I'm spending all that 180 million on 6 or 7 20 million pound players, essentially 20 to 25 million. That's what I would be doing. I would be getting the money and just sprinkling extra quality on the squad and making that a little bit bigger. Lose 3 players, add 6. You're only 3 players bigger, and that's what we're sort of asking for. We're asking for a squad that has just 3 more players in there, 3 more first team players, because it's so thin. And Cody Drameh going out on loan just makes it even thinner. They talk about 2 people in each position, and he goes, well, we have Luke Ayling and Stuart Dallas at right back. Yeah, but the problem is Stuart Dallas is a backup for the midfield. Stuart Dallas is a backup left back. Stuart Dallas is a backup. He's even a backup centre back at some points. He's backup in every position. So we have 2 left wingers. We have 2 right wingers. We've got Rafinha, Somerville, Harrison, and Dan James. And we have up front Bamford, and we have Gelhardt. In the midfield, we have Click, Forshaw, Phillips, Rodrigo, who's been injured, Lewis Bate. So that's 5 players, and Stuart Dallas. So that is literally exactly 6 players for the midfield. So you can't afford to have Stuart Dallas being back up anywhere else, because he's literally the midfielder, starting midfield or a backup midfielder. So we don't have a backup goalkeeper. We have 1 goalkeeper because Klaassen isn't ready. Centre back, we have, now we've actually got Hielder and Creswell, who have come through and look really, really good. But before that, we do have Koch, Cooper, Lorente, and Stroik. So you do have 4 quality players there. Some would argue Stroik is a backup defensive midfielder, but I don't. He's done okay, but I'd rather him play at centre back. He's unreal at centre back. So the left back and the right, with the right back, if Cody Drameh is pretty much leaving, that pretty much leaves a left and right back. We don't have anything else. And I know they're talking about Shackleton coming back. Shackleton hasn't played well at right back, and he's going to go back. He is a midfielder. He should be covering the midfield. I think he would be a fantastic midfielder in this league. He's energetic. He defends well. He runs around. I think he would be great in the midfield. But he's not getting that chance. He's playing at right back, which isn't his position, and he's not natural there. And you can tell he's not natural. And I think he's done a fantastic job for what he's been asked to do this year. A lot of people give Shackleton a stick, but in the end, a lot of you would have played football. You understand when you get put in a position you don't know, and even with a few games at right back, it still doesn't make that much of a difference. It takes a long time to get yourself where it's automatic what you're doing in that position. For me, I played up front as a striker, and I moved to centre back later on in my career, in my time playing. That was an easy transition, because when you play as a striker, you understand how centre backs work. You understand where you need to be. You understand what frustrates a striker. But from going from midfield to right back, it doesn't seem as seamless. So, you're using your width at right back. You're using your wings more. You do see Shackleton getting dragged into the middle of the park a lot, and that he does that. But you want to really be staying out wide. which a lot of you will know if you played football. I'm not exactly speaking anything tactically brilliant here. I'm not exactly speaking like Bielsa, but that's just common sense. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the transfer news for today. There's not huge transfer news. It's a striker that I don't think is going to happen. And the news about whether we have money or not, which I'm sort of getting a bit annoyed about what is it? Are the club hiding the fact that Bielsa doesn't want more players? Are the club hiding the fact that they don't want to spend money on players and Bielsa's frustrated? Because neither one will come out and blame the other one. Bielsa won't come out and say the club aren't giving me money, and the club won't come out and say Bielsa. I mean, they're sort of saying Bielsa doesn't want any more players, but even that's starting to die down now, so I'm not too sure anymore. But yeah, I appreciate you watching the video. If you drop me a like, comment, subscribe, that'd be fantastic. I'll try and get a video out every day about transfer news through the end of the year. I'm back to work on Monday, so again, life gets a bit more difficult, but I might be able to do some videos at lunchtime at work like I have been doing. These, like I've said before, these are very easy to do, these videos. I just got to do a bit of research on the transfer news and then do a video, and then it takes 2 seconds to edit because I don't really edit things out like I used to anymore now. Just little inconveniences I might edit out, but yeah, if you could drop me a subscribe, it'd be fantastic. To the new subscribers, welcome. I'm on my way to 100 subscribers, which would be huge. And I'm going to try and keep it consistent. That's my 2020 goal. Is to be consistent with YouTube and see if I can grow. Which obviously tailed off towards the end of last year, just due to the baby situation and finishing off work and things like that. So hopefully I can be more consistent this year. And with that, I'll speak to you later, and peace.